the last thing, and this is such a crucial thing today. Every agency is a media company in some respect or not. Like it matters. You have to create content because it's proof. Content is proof. And if you think about it that way, content builds trust because it's proof. And trust creates better sales. All right. Now, you don't actually have a content problem. You have a tooling problem. Lots of folks that I talk to say, I don't have anything unique to say. I don't have anything new to say. I don't have a strong point of view. Like I do the same thing as 50,000 other agencies. No, that's not true. Your team has a way of thinking. You have a way of engaging with your clients. You have a way of collecting information. You have a way of distributing information. You have a collective point of view. You just have to pay attention to it, extract it, and share. If you have no accountability, you aren't going to create. So it's really easy to create when you're inspired. Sure, that's awesome. But you can't vanish if you're busy. And so content is proof, and proof demands accountability. And that's not just accountability for you, because if your business only has one mouth, it just isn't loud enough. Like all the content, all the marketing, all the thinking, like that can't rely just on you. You hired a bunch of great people to do stuff. You've got to let them share. And you're thinking, like, how do we do this? Well, it's simple. There's four tools that you got. You got your vibes, vision, and values. And if you want to read about that, I talk about it on the agency inner circle all the time. You've got your four E's: education, entertain, evidence, and envision. This actually helps you, like this helps structure things really well. And then you've got a team distribution methodology. Like one message times a team of five becomes 5 or 10 or 15 or 20 messages. And you can actually do this in less than an hour a week. It's probably less time than you spend on TikTok. In the beginning, it might take you a little more than an hour, but let's jump into it. So, what are vibes, vision, and values? So, it's things that you know to be true. It's the way that you treat people. It's the way you sell. It's the way you think. It's your vernacular. It's your personality. It's your vision of the future. So all of these things, it is just the way that you are because your vibes, vision, and values are a beacon to people for whom that is the best thing in the world. VVV is that's the energy that you bring. And for a certain part of the market, they're going to think like you're smart, you're crazy, like all of these things that attract them to you. Because when people in the market are looking for solutions, they want to work with people that work like they do, that think like they do, that explain things that they understand, that have a similar attitude, that are nice. Or they want people who are like really professional and really buttoned up. And the only way that you can effectively share that with the market is to extract that stuff out of your team and present it to the market. Because if it's only your voice, people might think like, wow, that guy's smart. And then they talk to somebody else in your team who has a different methodology or a different way of thinking, and they're like, oh, that person's not smart. So you want to create a set of ideas and themes and principles that is your vibes, vision, and values, because we're going to use those in just a second. Now we've got the four E's. The four E's are educate, entertain, evidence, and envision. These are content buckets. So every piece of content that you create is either going to educate somebody, it's going to tell them like how something works, or gives them a how-to, or tells them something like this is an education piece of content. Maybe it's a little of the entertain, I don't know, but we really want to focus on understanding that we are going to create content that educates, or it might entertain, because people want to see like the unvarnished you. People also want to know that there's evidence. Like, do you know what you're doing? Can you prove it? Can you talk about results? Can you show me that you know how programmatic display really works, so that I'm confident that if I spend my money with you, you know what you're doing. But evidence is different than education, and it's different than entertaining. And then the last E is envision, because when a client engages with an agency, it has to be that they are sharing a value, a vision of the future, that they're going in the same direction. So you and your team have to get good, because people have these thoughts all the time, because I talk to you every day about like what's going to happen next. You know, as an example, is TikTok going to get banned? No, it's not. But for a short period of time, that was something that agency owners were asked to share their vision around. What would happen if it did? Like, why wouldn't it? And so people value your opinion about the market, because you have a very different perspective about the market in which they work and you serve. And so every piece of content, and all of these can come from anybody on your team, every piece of content has got to fit into this format. It's either going to educate, entertain, provide evidence, or envision the future. It's really a cheat sheet. So you pick a theme from your VVV. Like, we think clients ought to be treated this way, or we think that the right way to do creative is that way. We think that the best way to generate content is this way. You pick a theme there, you pick one of the E's. So let's just say that you want to educate somebody about why your way of doing creative testing is the best way. So you grab your creativity from your VVV, you stick it in the educate bucket, you crank out some content. It doesn't have to be perfect. It does not have to be professional. As a matter of fact, it's almost arguably better if it is not. But this is really simple. You figure out who you are, what you believe in, the things you're good at, the things that you have a unique perspective on. You take those ideas, you either educate, entertain, envision, or provide evidence through that theme. You make some content, and it's cool. Now, I'm really sorry. You no longer have an excuse to not make content, because this is really simple. It's 3 steps. And you're drawing from a vibe's vision and values that if you go through and define what that is, like you're gonna have a a bucket of information about what makes you you. You already know the buckets of expression. All you got to do is mash those things together and whip out some content. Now, team distribution. All right. This is where so many agency owners get freaked out. You're like, I can't have my team create content because they have to service my clients. We don't have time for that. Or they might say the wrong thing, or like, it's not my words. They might say something different. Well, first of all, they already create content every day. They generate reports, they have client calls, they 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 develop processes, they create case studies, they have tools that they love, they have things that they think are going to happen. Like, so they're already creating content. All you have to do is capture it. So get everybody on a Fireflies account, record their client calls, grab the transcript. You have content. Take all of the client reports, put them somewhere. Look at the editorial. You have content. When somebody is training somebody and they're saying, this is the way we do it, this is the way we think about it, record it. Now you got content. They build a case study. Cool, that's content. If there are tools that they love, if they suddenly think like N8N is the most amazing thing in the entire world and they're using it to make themselves more efficient, cool, they've got content. So all you have to do is capture it. You shine it up a little bit, run it through Descript and take out all the ums and ahs, throw it into ChatGPT and make it kind of dull. But if you capture it, you shine it up, and they share it, they can then, once they share something, they can repurpose it. So if they share something on LinkedIn, they can create a Twitter thing that does it. Like they can create a Twitter version of that. They could take that LinkedIn post and turn it into an article for your newsletter. And then once that's posted, if you like stick it somewhere, throw it in a Notion table or something, anybody on your team can go in and grab that content and think, well, well, cool. Like they talked about whatever, how we think about making creative. Isn't that cool? So I'm gonna talk about, either my part in it or like how cool I think this is. So your media buyer might make a post about about creative testing. Well, your email marketer might also take that same idea around creative testing and say, hey, I was just inspired by my colleague's post on creative testing. Let me tell you how we do that in email. And then the CEO can take both of those and say, like, one of the core team values that we have is that we share ideas across all of this. So we take the strategies from creative optimization in paid media, and we also apply it to retention media. Now you think that's really hard, right? But it isn't. And I will actually share some. I'll share some. I'll share some automations that you can use. The only thing that I would say is you can very easily sort of adapt somebody else's content to your own, but just don't let it go out the door as AI might write it. Like have AI start it and you finish it. But really, this is something that you can do in less than an hour a week. And the way that you need to think about this, like why do you need to create more content? It's because you're surrounding your market. So in that last example, your media buyer probably attracts attention from people who are acquisition marketers. And so they have a view into that market. And by the way, this isn't just about landing new clients. It's also about making yourself visible to great new employees and all that sort of stuff. You also, if you know, when your email marketer repurposes that post or expands on it, well, they have a retention marketer focused audience. So that's two separate places that you are now focused on. And you, as the CEO, you are probably much more tied into a decision maker audience, which is going to be different than those other two audiences. So you get this one insight about creative testing from your media buyer. And that gets repurposed two separate times. So now we have three audiences from one person, one piece of content. And then if we repurpose that to other sort of, other sort of channels. So if it's not just LinkedIn, if you're also doing an Instagram and Twitter and wherever else, well, guess what happens? You take that one anchor piece, you get three or four team posts, and you suddenly get a huge amount of increase in reach. Now, if it requires discipline, if you make it an obligation that everybody must post something 3 times a week, well, that requires discipline. That requires commitment from your team. That's dumb. They're not going to do it because they will always say, oh, I couldn't do that because I was working on this client. Well, instead of focusing on forcing them to do something, figure out ways to reduce the friction in them doing it. So one post gets, you create an idea bank in Notion, or you have a weekly, a 15-minute meeting where everybody throws ideas out. It's all, and then people can pick and choose, and then everybody follows one another, and then you repurpose what they've put out. And essentially, what you do is you increase your effective action area, the number of places where potential clients, potential partners, and potential employees can engage with you. All of that from one insight. And it's really, really powerful because when we maximize visibility, we maximize opportunity. So sales, team, money, and content, like these are the things that drive your agency growth. But if you start out with that formulaic, like we're going to grow by 4% a month over time, and I put it in the spreadsheet and everything looks fantastic, that is just you hoping that the future works out in your favor. What I hope you have learned from this is that you can install systems of control that maximize your potential to project and protect your growth. Now, there's just one question that you need to answer before we go. Are you willing to build these control elements to allow your team to shine? Like you have to answer that question because you are the agency leader. Your biggest, most expensive, and most highly talented asset is your team. If you want to put in these control structures, things are going to get better and your plans will turn into reality. But it really is up to you if you're willing to invest the emotional energy to think about your environment differently. So you don't need to be focused on scale because when you focus on scale, you make dumb choices. You really focus on things that are out of sequence. What you need to do is to create the control structures that give you an opportunity to thrive. Scale might be the result of you thriving, but you can't create scale. You have to create the opportunity for you to do the best work that you can. And by putting in these control measures, these things where it is easy to see what you need to fix, it's easy to understand how you amplify, and it's clear who owns what, you're going to be able to thrive. And then scale becomes a result, not a goal. Thank you so much. This has been a terrific time together. My name is Tim Kilroy. You can find me at timkilroy.com or my newsletter at agencyinnercircle.com.